Imagine waking up to the sound of your life catching fire, choking, crawling on your hands and knees through smoke, while everything you own collapses behind you. Now, imagine the person who did it, standing in the street, daring you to do anything about it. What would you do? Would you call the police and go back to pretending you're okay? Or would you make them pay? If you like stories about quiet people pushed too far, hit like and subscribe. Turn on notifications. This one is messy, raw, and it doesn't end the way you expect. I lived alone in a tiny, one-story house. One bedroom, a little kitchen, a bathroom that always smelled faintly of bleach. It wasn't much, but it was mine. After long shifts, I'd unlock the front door, hang my jacket, and breathe like the world couldn't reach me in that one small space. That quiet felt like protection. People assume small things can't be taken so violently. They're wrong. It was late after work. I pulled into my driveway, ready to collapse into silence. A man came running up, breathing hard, eyes like a cornered animal. He didn't ask. He accused. "Hey, you," he barked. In the yellow of the streetlight, I could see the tremor in his hand. He shoved a blade toward me like it was the only language he had left. "Give me money right now. You son of a..." He hissed till my whole body went thin with cold. My voice sounded distant even to me. "I don't have anything," I said, honestly. I didn't even have cash for coffee. He stepped closer. "Give me money right now," he repeated. He smelled like old sweat and bad decisions. I put the car in reverse and drove away before I realized I'd done it as I pulled into the road. He yelled one sentence that I would hear over and over in my head for weeks. "You're gonna regret this, asshole." It didn't feel like an empty threat. For the next few days, the world tilted. Someone was watching. It's a subtle thing, the way a shadow pauses at my window, the way a footstep falls a beat too late behind me, the radio in a parked car going silent the second I pass. Each little thing stacked up like evidence in my chest. Sleep stopped being a refuge. I'd wake before my alarm, listen, and count the seconds until I convinced myself there was nothing there at all. But the feeling never went away. Then came the night the house went up. I don't remember the first scream. I remember waking with my mouth full of dust and the instant panic squeezing my ribs. Heat hit the ceiling like a living thing. Light through the curtains was orange. The air tasted metallic. I didn't have time to think. My lungs burned. I dropped down, an army crawled through the hallway, fingers scraping on ruined floorboards. My clothes stuck to my skin. Every breath was a fight. The smoke made a sound in my ears that wasn't a sound, a rushing that filled everything. I made it outside on my hands and knees. The street felt unreal under my palms. I watched my home, my small, stubborn house, folding in on itself. Firefighters screamed orders and sprayed water. But the look on their faces said what I couldn't accept. It was gone when an officer finally spoke to me. His words were the worst kind of bureaucratic cruelty. "We'll investigate, but without solid evidence, it's difficult to charge anyone." In the hotel that night, I slept in a chair and The police report felt like a polite dismissal of my life. People talk about justice like it exists in neat boxes. I learned the opposite. The system asks for proof. The thing is, the people who do shit like this are careful. They disappear into alleys, into noise. They don't leave neat, prosecutable trails. I tried. I told them everything. The knife, the words, the stalking. They listened politely and wrote in their notebooks. "We'll see what we can do," they said, and then there were forms and the slow, warm feeling of being shuffled away. That kind of helplessness eats at you. I'd lost a home. I'd lost the safety I'd built. And the man who'd threatened me. He was still out there, alive and walking free, in a cheap motel room with the television on low. I sat at the edge of the bed and felt something click inside me. Not some movie-style villain origin, more like the last splinter of patience snapping. If no one else would make him answer for what he did, then I would. I'm not proud of the next part. I'm not telling this for sympathy. I'm telling it because there's a cold truth people love to ignore. When systems fail, people make their own calculus. I bought a handgun. The box was heavier than I expected. I didn't want to touch it at first. The metal felt obscene in my hands, but it also felt like a tool, blunt, final, and I told myself I would use it only to get answers. I went back to the street where we'd met. It was the same place, a barber shop with a flickering neon sign, a row of cracked mailboxes. I sat on a curb and watched. Hours passed. My muscles cramped. My throat went dry. I rehearsed words I might say, how I would make him understand the weight of what he'd done, and then he appeared like he had a map back to me. Same shamble, same reckless grin. That was the thing to him. I was probably just another mark. He didn't expect someone who'd been stripped of everything to come looking. I followed him into an alley where the city smelled muttered of garbage and old rain. I moved fast and stupid because adrenaline makes you braver than you are. I grabbed him, pushed him into a doorway, and he went from swaggering to panicked in one awful flick. I bound him to a chair. That image, a man who'd threatened me, suddenly small and helpless, mouth working, will haunt me when I try not to think about it. He kept cursing and blurring his words with promises he didn't mean. Who burned my house? I asked without shouting. My voice was low, precise, a thing I used to hide fear. He spat. Not me. Not me. Then the animal came back. Denial, anger, a slippery mixture. He tried to bluff his way through. He thought bully logic would save him. Something about his face changed when I told him I had nothing left to lose. It's hard to explain, but when someone who spent their life taking gets the exact same fear they've inflicted on others, you see a person stripped down to the core. We argued. He lied, unlied, until the lies clotted on his tongue. I pulled small things from my pockets, a lighter, a photo of the house in better times, because people confess when they feel seen. At first he cussed, then his voice got thin like a radio going out. He started naming excuses, mumbled about debts and someone else's orders. The details didn't matter so much as the confession itself. He said it in a rush, like a bargain. Okay, okay, I did it. I set the fire. I didn't mean for it to get that bad. When he said it, I felt something shatter. It wasn't catharsis. It wasn't relief, so clean as you see in movies. It was a messy wash of anger, grief, and a cold clarity. This man had taken a life, my life as I knew it, and now he'd admitted it. The finale wasn't cinematic. It was ugly and human and final. I fired the gun. I won't describe the moment with flourish. There's nothing elegant about taking a life. There's the sound, then the body. There's a silence that isn't peace. It's the absence of everything that made the other person dangerous. After I stood in the alley and felt a hollow that I couldn't name. Part of me expected bells and a choir, some divine approval. Instead, I felt exhaustion and the stupid, terrible knowledge that I'd crossed a line I couldn't uncross. I had made someone pay with the only thing I could give that would matter to him. Some might call that justice. Some might call it revenge. I'll leave the labels to other people. There's a myth that revenge heals. It doesn't. It settles a particular score, yes, but it leaves scars on the people who carry it out too. You don't become a better person by breaking someone else. You simply change. I lost the house, and in the aftermath, I lost my illusions about how the world keeps people safe. I also learned something dangerous and true. When you're pushed to the edge, you can make decisions you never imagined. That realization sits heavy. Would I do anything differently? Maybe. I don't want to lie and say I regret everything. I don't. He walked away from that house with the knowledge he'd caused my ruin, and he paid the price for it. But the cost to me was real. To sleep at night, to look at myself in the mirror, to live with what I did. If this story gripped you, if it made you think about justice and what you do when the system fails, hit like and tell me in the comments, what would you do if someone took everything from you? And subscribe for more raw Reddit stories where people get pushed to their limits. Thanks for listening, and be careful out there.